couple's mask is probably one of the most complicated ones to obtain in Majora's Mask, apart from the fierce deity, of course. It has a long and very story-heavy quest for a Zelda game, and while its reward is only really useful for a single heart piece, the journey and the emotions conveyed through the quest are actually the real reward here. The story is really hard to understand as a child, but once you're capable of fully understanding it, it hits home really hard. The fact that two people try their best to meet up and would rather spend their last hours together over an attempt to escape just shows how powerful this quest is. Not only that, but the details and writing that went into the quest is impactful and painful at the same time. Just as an example, if we complete the quest up until the second day, Anju will be waiting for Kafei with her wedding dress in her room and face death with the hope of Kafei arriving. On the other hand, if we don't hand the pendant to Anju and complete the quest up until the final section, Kafei will be the one waiting in Anju's room, looking at her wedding dress and telling you how beautiful it is. The entire quest is full with small details like this, and only gets more heartbreaking the more you think about it. But obviously, we're not here to swoon over details of the side quests in Majora's Mask, because there are a few shortcuts that can be used. But as always with this series, let's start with the normal playthrough. The quest starts on the night of the first day, in which we enter the mayor's residence to get the Kafei mask. After obtaining it, we head to the Stockpot Inn and show the mask to Anju, who will then ask us to meet her at 12:30 AM in the kitchen of the inn. As we arrive there, Anju will be late by about half an hour. We talk to her and obtain a letter which we have to give to a mailbox in Clock Town. It is also important to note that we don't save the granny in North Clock Town, as Seikon will not deliver his loot to the hideout later on if we do so. After giving the letter to a mailbox, we need to wait for night of the second day, where we then ring the bell of Kafei's house, where he comes out, and we have to sneak in. Once we're here, we'll talk to Kafei, who will give us a pendant that Anju waits for. We bring it to her, who has been waiting for it already, and then go to the night of the third day. We once again head into Kafei's house, where we'll find the curiosity shop owner, who tells us that Kafei is waiting in Ikana for Seikon to deliver his loot, and that he wants to sneak into his hideout to obtain his sun mask for the wedding. In addition, we get the Keaton mask, but that one isn't too important for now. We now soar to Ikana and wait for the clock to hit 7 PM on the final day, which is when Seikon enters his hideout and leaves it wide open for us to enter. We go in together with Kafei and find the sun's mask on a conveyor belt. We have to step onto the switch and then take the role of Kafei, with whom we have to push a block onto the switch for the next door on Link's side to open. We defeat the Deku Baba in the room and continue as Kafei, where we now have to pay attention to not step onto a red switch, as that will speed the conveyor belt up. After we reach the switch, we continue as Link, where we now have to defeat 2 Deku Babas. Continuing as Kafei, we now have to deal with several blocks in order to reach the blue switch. In the last room on Link's side, awaits us a Wolfos that can be a pain to deal with, as he can take quite some time to defeat. The last door opens for Kafei, and we head through the door and open the last one for Link. As Link passes through the door and triggers the last switch, the hole in the conveyor belt closes and we get the sun's mask. Our last task is now to get back to Clock Town and wait for 4:30 AM on the last day, which is the exact time Kafei arrives for their reunion. Finally. And as a reward, we get the couple's mask.
Alright, the speedrun doesn't do a lot of things differently, but it is sped up quite a bit. We start the usual way, go to the mayor's residence and play Song of Double Time to obtain Kafei's mask. Then we go to the Stockpot Inn and start the quest for the midnight meeting. After doing this, we could potentially duplicate a bottle over Kafei's mask and catch hot spring water in it in the Japanese version. If we do this, we rewrite the memory block that affects the in-game timer to always set it to 12 AM at midnight. We get back to the Stockpot Inn and talk to Anju at 1 AM, who will give us the letter as usual. A little fun fact here, you can actually hand this letter in on the second day. The important part is that you deposit the letter before the mailman collects the mail for the day, which is a different time for each box. Now we advance to night of the second day, where we can then just enter the door and obtain the pendant. Oddly enough, ringing the bell isn't required as the door is already open. Here we can then use a little trick to skip taking the stairs by rolling into the wall and hitting the see up button as Link's head is at the wall. This will allow us to look through the wall and talk to Kafei. We head to the stockpot inn once more and hand the pendant to Anju, possibly at around 8 PM on the second day, as this is the time the inn is about to close and Anju will walk to the main door to lock it. After doing this, it's time to get to the night of the final day and once again enter Kafei's house, get the Keaton mask, and go to Ikana. Here we don't have to wait for Seiken, as the gap between the boulder block in the entrance and the wall is so thick that a well-timed roll will force Link to just jump past it. Once we're here, we drop a fish and recatch it. If we now enter the door, we mash the start button to pause the game before the cutscene starts and perform a glitch called time stop. This can be done by Link holding a bottle, then triggering the bottle and interrupting it by using the shield. Doing so will stop the cutscene from playing and we can open Kafei's door by stepping onto the switch before the conveyor belt twice. Now we will get control over Kafei and step on the first switch. From here we have two options. Either we use the infinite sword glitch, which we explained plenty of times in different videos already, and hover over the invisible wall onto the conveyor belt itself, which allows us to just walk to the end. Or we use the hookshot and the Deku Babas to clip ourselves through the walls. The first method is the easier one of the two, but still easy to mess up as we can accidentally hop onto Kafei's side, which means that the puzzles aren't completable anymore. However, if we do so, we can just play the Song of Soaring and start over. Once we're on the conveyor belt, we can just walk to the end and trigger Link's final switch, which results in an immediate finish of the puzzle. The second method is way harder. We use the first Deku Baba and wait for it to attack us. Once it's done that, we target the wall, which allows us to clip through the wall into the second room using the hookshot. Here are now two Babas waiting for us. We do the same thing, but target the conveyor belt this time. If we now manage to hookshot the Baba's head, we will clip onto the conveyor belt. However, doing this is extremely hard. Once we've done this, it's time to head back to Clock Town, or do a couple of other tasks, and then go to the stockpot inn and obtain the couple's mask. Depending on the category, a couple more things will be done now. For example, the Stone Tower Temple in all masks, but that's a different story. Thank you for watching another little video of casual versus speedrun. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, why not subscribe if you haven't yet?